Hello, everybody. Welcome to the live stream of the Transatlantic Wrestling Talk. This is your host, Dale, and we got kind of just this open ended question as far as what the future is. We have an interesting case here that I don't think has ever really been discussed as far as a topic for what we've been talking about here on the show. And a lot of people don't realize this too. And I don't think a lot of people understand what the impact this will be for wrestling. So Triple H is now at the helm and operating all throughout WWE, NXT. So the main programming is his baby. So any decisions that he has the final say. And what he cultivates from there as far as talent goes, it's his choice. He does let a lot of the characters themselves or the wrestlers themselves have their own idea as far as what to do. Hence the creative control that Bray Wyatt has. Okay, am I a huge fan of that? Not really, because we're still always going to get the ghosts and goblins. And I think my friends Nick and Simon from Wrestle Buddy always say they enjoy some spooky stuff with their wrestling. Look, Motley Crue said, and Tommy Lee from Motley Crue said, you can't be like this all the time, right? That's why they wrote Home Sweet Home. Makes sense. My thing with that is you need a variety inside of that. Wrestling is a three-ring circus sometimes, and people will look at it that way. So some people might be afraid of the lions. Some people might be afraid of the clowns. Me, I go for the latter. I'm terrified of them. I think that they are just different types of people. Overall, though, looking at this as a whole, when you look at what type of creative control these characters are given, I think, Seth Rollins isn't holding back. Not saying he's not a creative guy at all, but there's a difference between him and Bray. So as people do that on the main roster and television ratings fluctuate, but more so on a better scale because Vince is now gone. There's one person we have to really look at, and this is the first time we are able to understand what Triple H's vision is. Now, granted, the people that I spoke about before and a lot of other superstars came through the NXT ranks, but there's been several years that these people were actually in Vince limbo. And obviously, Vince thought highly of Rollins. Obviously, Reigns, we know about. But there's one guy in particular that I'm looking at, and I think the world understands too, and we'll understand why I'm saying this in a second, and that's Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker was a guy that as soon as NXT 2.0 was unveiled, he was unveiled. He walked up to Ciampa, said, I'm coming for that. Yeah. You can't get rid of that Steiner diction whenever they talk. I love it. It's just intensity. That's what it is. I'm not saying they tried to hide the persona of the Steiners with him. It definitely came through. We already see it. We hear it. But I think they're kind of holding it back a little bit as far as who he is, even though we know who his dad is. He's been inserted in a storyline too. But maybe when he comes up to the main roster, we might get a Rex Steiner. Who knows? What I'm getting at, though, is Braun Breaker will be the first person that has gone through developmental and will be called up. Anybody that says he's not or won't be is out of their fucking minds. But Braun Breaker will be the first one to go through developmental and go into the main roster with Triple H controlling both. Now, I know Shawn Michaels is kind of holding NXT right now, and I think that's a great job. I think that they're going to transition back to the new black and gold because right now I think the 2.0 is kind of it's all over the place, but it's a very echoed sentiment as far as what the times are. There's no focus on anything anymore. There's a reason why there's videos that get millions and millions and millions of views, not just because they are 6 seconds, but that's because the brain can't handle more than 6 seconds worth of knowledge and facts. My whole thing here, though, is that, it might as well be a colorful painting And that's what it is. It's just so many different things that attract you. So that's why the 2.0, it works for a certain crowd. The content inside, I enjoy. It does have a feel. I love that NWA type feel. NWA is also a fine product too to watch as well. I've spoken about that at high lengths, that episodically it's something that's enjoyable, and it's not something that you really need to get a huge grasp on. But the one thing I do like is that when they go to black and gold again, I don't know how long that Braun Breaker is really going to be in it again. And for some reason, I really think that when he gets called up, he could have a lukewarm push at first, but we know it's to the moon with this kid. This kid is going to be the future. The good thing is that Triple H has watched every part of him. No, that sounded weird. Every part of his career he's seen and he is guided towards. Sean's definitely getting chirped in his ear about it. But I think Sean has enough recognition as far as what talent does and how to judge talent. The things that he's done in the past, the things that he's said in the past, make no mistake about it. He knows it. But it's not like the guy didn't know talent. You know, he could say his snide remarks all he wants. I still laugh at the fact that RVD wants to punch him in the face sometimes and sometimes not. It's one of my favorite shoots. But I really think that him and Hunter have the same interests, and they know that Breaker is the future. Can Breaker be somebody that comes up and defeats Roman Reigns? At this point, tell me why that wouldn't be a good idea. Obviously, there's a lot of work to still be done with Braun Breaker, but look at the wrestler that he is. Technically sound. The guy looks like $1,000,000. You know, you don't need a mouthpiece on him. He could talk for himself. He's getting the training there on alert right now. He's definitely knowing exactly what to do. You know, he's got the family genes in it. What's missing from Braun Breaker right now? A push. He could sit there with JD McDonough and Ilya Dragunov all he wants. Not saying that that's bad at all. That's great company. I think they're extremely talented. My whole thing, though, is that when he gets up to the main roster, I really doubt that there's any type of similarities between how Shinsuke was treated, Samoa Joe, where they could get one match against a champion and then they'll never reach that top spot again. Remember, Shinsuke was pushed to the moon, won the Royal Rumble, had a great match with AJ, turned heel after the match against AJ. I didn't see that really coming, but it was still a great match. I think the heel turn, if that match was at the end of that night, I think the heel turn would have actually been, it wouldn't have happened. Maybe, you know, because Mania, they want people to go home happy. But I really think that they did a great thing here. This was fantastic. If the problem is that I think that Triple H will make sure that he knows how to market Braun Breaker. He's the future. All right. The shirt that he has right now is awful. The one with just him on it. It's like, when do you want that? But he's the future. This guy is somebody you could definitely market. Okay. You could still use that singlet. I mean, you mean to tell me you can't see this guy actually, you know, first starting off against Otis or Gable? It's not like these guys aren't competent workers. Or maybe teaming up with Stevenson. He just looks like an athlete. Whenever that guy will come in. That's another story. It'd be great if they pushed him as a heel right away, wouldn't it? I would love that. Worked for another guy that wrestled and won some gold medals. Back to Breaker, though. This is going to be the ultimate litmus test for wrestlers in WWF. Triple H had the oversight all throughout his career while he was there. And boy, I'm telling you, it's going to be something special. Triple H knows what he's doing. Breaker is going to be a great force, and he is going to be a household name within 3 years. What are we in, 2022? Okay, I'll go by 2025. People are going to know who Breaker is. Whether his name's Breaker, they're doing the right thing. I think if they changed it to Steiner, it could definitely have some more juice to it. But once again, I really think that this is where WWF will prove, and WWE will prove that they're superior. This is Dale signing off from the Transatlantic Wrestling Talk Show live stream about Braun Breaker. I'd love to hear your comments about it. Let me know what you think. I think this is a home run, and this is going to be the first person that Triple H has watched all throughout and supervised his career. Breaker to the moon.